All right, so we are on the second part of section 3 on how to nail down an extra $1,000 a month. And you're probably wondering at this point, why are you doing A, B sections for all of your other sections? And part of it is because I wanted to keep these videos really short. And originally, when I did this, it was 3 specific tips. But I wanted to make sure that you weren't going to get caught here for a long time. So that's why we're doing it this way. Anyway, so part 3 is really about invoicing weekly. And at the end of the day, the one most important thing that you can do is the invoice is improves your client trust. So many times clients and get surprised by the changes that happen in construction. And it's not because they're stupid and it's not because you didn't tell them, but to be honest with you, a lot of times they're busy, they're not really paying attention and they're not keeping track, or they don't really know what you know. So you'll talk with them about something, this and that and the other, and they may not put a number in their head about something. Like you might say to them, hey, you know what, we can do this. It might be a few $1,000s, and then you keep talking and you never specifically talk about the money, and they're like, yeah, let's move forward. And they just don't know what you know. So making sure that you're invoicing every week means that at the end of the week, anything extra has already been captured and there's no surprises. So it keeps your client informed about what it is that's going on as you're building through. It also avoids huge, much larger bills. A lot of times the changes that are being made are can be substantial, and your customer may or may not have to access funds that are not in their bank account in order to pay you. So if you are sending them smaller invoices, it's a lot easier for them to manage their payments to you. Now if you're sending them a bill for a couple $100, that customer doesn't have to pay it maybe that week. But what that says when it's a small bill or even a zero bill is it says to the customers, these were the changes and this is all. And then you can also use that invoice when you're communicating with your customers about what's upcoming. So maybe you talked about a change, but you didn't actually do it yet. You, in the notes section of your invoice, you can say, agreed to add 50 lineal feet of green soffit, right? So you just write it in the notes section and then you've put it in writing, and then there's no surprises. And it's not really a cover your ass or even got you thing, but again, people forget and they're like, did we talk about that? And you go, yeah, on the last invoice, you can see in the notes we had talked about it. And they go, oh, right. Yes, of course we did. Of course we did. So avoiding large bills makes it easier for the client to manage. It keeps you organized. So if you are invoicing every single week, then you're no longer going into a big box in your truck, or you're not pulling from all over the place. You are going to be invoicing every week. Now, I will say that if you do have accounts at, say, lumber stores and things like that, you may or may not want to, like, you could delay it because they'll have a record of it, but you'll still be getting an invoice for every single time you make a purchase there. So you should have copies of those. So you're going to get faster at it. You're going to stay organized. It's going to be easier for you. And the client is going to trust you because it'll be like, make a change, get billed for the change, make a change, get billed for the change. Like, doesn't that make you go, huh? And then if you don't see anything, you're like, oh, good. We're actually sticking on budget, right? I mean, what a great feeling that would be, is sticking on budget. Now, I'm going to tell you just a little bit of a very bad story. Well, not my story, but I was told a story about an electrician who was doing a substantial amount of work for a customer. This is the story from the customer's perspective, just by the way. The customer has a seasonal business. At the end of the season, they asked the electrician for a bill. It took the electrician 6 months to pay them. It was a $30,000 bill. It took them, 6 months to invoice them. Well, when they finally got the invoice, they were not in the middle of their busy season because they're a seasonal business. So $30,000 hit is a lot more difficult for them to manage in the winter than it is in the summer. So that customer moving forward, instead of cutting off their relationship with the electrician, they were tempted to do that because it made them so uncomfortable. Instead of doing that, they actually said, I will take as long to pay you as it takes you to invoice me. So if it takes you 6 months to invoice me, I am not paying you for 6 months. And I actually don't think that customer was wrong for that, because you don't know what your customer is going through regarding their cash flow. So if they're waiting for a bill and then they forget about it and then you surprise them with a $10,000 bill, I mean, that's great, but that's not really your money in the bank. You know what's better than having an outstanding invoice as money in the bank? Actual money in the bank. Actually getting the money, putting it in the bank, and collecting interest on it. That is money in the bank. So, keeping that in mind, definitely invoicing weekly is one of the things that I love to encourage people to do. Clients, again, you do not need to force them to pay you every week. You just want to send the bill. So if you don't, if they're small bills, you can say to them, "Hey, just roll this into the next one," or you have a threshold. Hey, you know what? If the extra invoices are less than $1,000, then you can just wait and tack it on to the next one. But once we're at $1,000, then I'd like to get paid. However you want to do it. I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other, but definitely not invoicing, delaying invoicing, not tracking is going to be something that's going to not help you out. So that is the end of our invoicing weekly. I know that probably sounded a little bit like a lecture, but actually it should be kind of exciting, right? Imagine money coming in. It's like mail money. You're not really expecting it, and then you get a bonus check from the government because they're trying to bribe you in the next election. Whatever. Anyway, I'm the founder of Jig Savvy. If you want to find out more about our other courses, because this one is basically sort of like the what and the why, our other minis kind of get into the how. So if you need the how, then go to Jig Savvy, check out what we got, and we'll see you in the next one.